Around a third of all Americans don't vote. Those of you who don't, what are your reasons? Interesting thread. The theme is because my vote doesn't matter. I know people who have never gone to school, never voted, never learned about any of it. Just had to start working at 15 and worked ever since. Struly Suuli working 2 jobs to take care of their kids as a single parent and say that voting and politics are for smart people, don't know Republican from Democrat or what any of that means. I know a lot of people like this. You'd be surprised how many people are like that. And I'm talking people in their 30s. In this thread, people downvoting real reasons people don't vote because they disagree with them. Also in this thread, nobody is giving real reasons they don't vote. You'll have to sort by controversial. I live in Florida. The 2 candidates running for Senate are Daryl Parks and Corey Simon. Each one seems to have a huge advertising budget because they both run ads constantly, all saying the same thing. My opponent lies. Hi, I'm Daryl Parks. Corey Simon lies. Hi, I'm Corey Simon. Daryl Parks lies. Now imagine hearing that over and 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 over every single day. At this point, I hate both of them. If either one of them would cut their advertising budget at least by 25% and donate it to the hurricane victims, I'd vote for them immediately. But they want to spend their money telling us constantly that the other one lies, and I'm sick of hearing it. Fuck them both. I work with about 8 people in their 20s, and none are registered to vote. Same with their spouses. I simply didn't care at that age either, but knew what was ethical to me. Currently, my disagreement with registering is that my state posts your name and address publicly. Not great if you don't want your past following you. I imagine I'll get a lot of hate, but I'm 39 and have never voted. My main reason is that I have never felt informed enough to make an educated decision one way or the other. My vote would be influenced solely by family and media. I don't wish to spend my free time researching and fact-checking data just to vote and feel good about it. When politics gets brought up in conversations and I bother to listen, the many things I hear usually end up not true or only half-truths. I disagree with the 2-party system greatly, as it only makes any given issue even more polarized. Granted, I'm not as familiar enough with our election process to know why it is the way it is. I'm short, I don't like the candidates, the polarization, how extreme issues are taken, and dislike the system. Let me sum it all up and save you some time. Reason 1, because life is good for them either way and they simply have no interest in politics. Reason 2, they've been convinced by nihilists and cynics that their vote doesn't matter and won't change anything. Reason 3, they don't like any of the candidates enough to feel like either of them deserves their vote. Reason 4, they don't know enough about the candidates to make a decision that's not just a coin toss. Here is what people who don't vote are failing to understand. Whether you vote or not, you're participating in the election regardless. Only difference is you are giving up control by not voting. You are still a part of the system, whether you vote or not. By not voting, you are falling for the propaganda of the party that doesn't want you to vote. In America, one side has many more votes than the other, so the side that has less votes wants you to not vote. They know that if you did vote, you wouldn't vote for them. So they use all kinds of propaganda like telling you your vote doesn't matter or that both sides are equally bad. It's propaganda and it's not true. You're falling for it by not voting. No matter what justifications you come up with for not voting, you are being brainwashed by propaganda without realizing it. Here's the truth. We all know the 2-party system is flawed. We all know the Democrats are corrupt and politicians on both sides are corrupt. However, one side is significantly worse than the other. The Republicans are worse for you than the Democrats. The only time this isn't true is if you are very wealthy. And in that case, it doesn't matter what party is in power because both parties exist to make wealthy people wealthier. But 90+% of us don't live in that bracket. So the difference in the parties is much more significant to you. And for those that do live in that wealth bracket, Democrats are better for the other 90% of the country. By not voting for them, you are fucking over the vast majority of the country for temporary personal gain. Just not voting for Republicans isn't enough. You need to vote. Otherwise, you are basically doing exactly what the Republican Party wants you to do. You're still engaging in the two-party system. You aren't escaping it by not voting. You're playing right into their hands. The only way through this mess is by voting for the candidate who is more likely to be held accountable. And right now, that is the Democrats. The more we vote and push for accountability, the better it gets, but only by voting. Vote, please. Edit. Uh-oh, I've pissed off the both-siders. Funny how y'all can decide now to vote, hitting that downvote button, because now it involves you. But you won't vote for the sake of the people who are going to be hurt by Republican policies. Fuck women's right to abortion right. Fuck transgender people. Fuck legal immigrants who are not white enough to get a free pass. Fuck anybody who isn't you, right? That's why you're disgusting people, both sides my ass. If you go into a store and nothing they offer is appealing to you, you don't buy something that you think might be the least bad option. You just don't buy anything. Except it's not like that. One of them is going to be president. It's like going into a store and they tell you that no matter what, you're going home with one of the things they offer, but they allow all customers to give their preference. Going home with nothing isn't an option. So with voting, the least bad option does make sense, because you want the least bad in your life and community. But that's not the important part. First, you're voting for a party, really, not the person. Second, there are multiple elections every year and they control things more locally that affect your day-to-day life. And finally, the campaigns and political groups use vote records to make policy decisions, especially when they lose that area. The more voters come out, the more they focus on that area and the reasons voter turnout was higher. So having a vote in, even if it doesn't affect the overall result, does make a difference for future elections. I am a conservative, save the hate rhetoric, I'm not MAGA, living in an overwhelmingly liberal city, to such an extent that the only political ads are Democrat. The others don't waste time and money campaigning here. My vote would truly mean nothing in the Electoral College, or in the state vote, since one city controls the entire state, or in local, for the same reasons. I choose to live here because I love the area and how wild nature is in just a short car ride. Politicians are all liars, and their promises mean nothing anyway, so why bother? People look at the data. If they see a substantial or growing number of people voting for the conservative candidate or policies, the party might decide it's worth it to spend more money in that district. More different candidates might see it and be inspired to run. It might be slow, but eventually the ball might start rolling in the other direction. That's why you should bother. Also, one vote won't matter. But if 1,000 people who only think of their own vote not mattering don't vote, it may make a difference if they all bothered to vote. So you should still vote.